Hey everyone, how's it going? This topic is best learned not just through studying, not just through breaking it down, but through examples, seeing lots of examples, and being exposed to it a lot. It's okay if you don't understand exactly how the grammar form works, exactly how to make it, exactly when you can and can't use it. Instead, being able to understand the sentences, in this case, is actually going to be more important to you than being able to accurately make them yourselves. Because this is an abstract concept. Abstract concepts in Korean, while I can break them down, are best learned simply through exposure and time. This is something that understanding the feeling better, how it feels, will make you better at using it. And the only way to get better at that is by hearing it used a lot or seeing it used a lot. Lots of exposure. So let's get started with our lesson. First, let's talk about changing a verb into an adjective. There are 5 really common uses for changing a verb into an adjective. First of all, there's nominalization, which you might know as the ing form, when you take a action verb and you change it into a 는 것. Well, when you're doing this with an action verb, what you're doing is you are actually conjugating the action verb, let's just take 공부하다, into an adjective to describe a noun. The adjective here is 공부하는 것. 것 means thing. So the thing that is studying, that is, we say, studying. 한국어를 공부하는 것이 재밌어요. So literally, the thing that is studying Korean is fun. You can just think of it as studying Korean is fun. You can also use adjectives in another way. Something that you verb. For example, 피자는. So pizza is a thing that you eat. Literally, that eats. Pizza is a thing that you eat. So pizza is something you eat. If someone says, what is pizza? You can say, 피자는 먹는 거예요. Pizza's food. Well, you eat it. You can also use a conjugated verb, descriptive verb, or action verb to make the past tense, present tense, and future tense. If we take 하다, I will do it. This is the same thing. 할 is the future tense conjugation of the verb 하다, to do. 할 거예요. So literally, I am a thing that will do whatever it is you're going to do. So when you say 저는 갈 거예요, you're literally saying I am a thing 것 that will go. 하는 거예요. Well, 하는 is the present tense conjugation of the action verb 하다. So you're literally saying I am a thing that is doing it. So in that sense, I do it. Past tense. So I did it. I am a thing that did something. You can also do this with the progressive tense. So 하고 있는 거예요. So I am a thing that is currently doing whatever it is. So I am currently doing that. Also, of course, you can use any adjective to just describe a noun. So we can have this sentence. 한국어를 공부하는 사람들이 멋있어요. People who study Korean are cool. People who study Korean are cool. 한국어를 공부하는 사람들이 멋있어요. Let me give you another example of this. 내가 만든 케이크가 어딨어요? Where is the cake that I 만든? The past tense of 만들다. So not 만드는, the cake that I am making, not 만들, the cake that I will make, but 만든, the cake that I made. 내가 만든 케이크. So the cake that I made, 어딨어요? Where is it? You'll of course also know that the adjective form is used in some grammar forms, such as 것 같다. To make it, you get an adjective from either a descriptive verb or an action verb, and you attach 것 같다. So if you wanted to say, I think the weather is cold, well, you can get 춥다 and change it into an adjective as 추운, so present tense adjective, is cold, and you can say 추운 것 같아요. And that's all there is to that first form. The next form we're using requires knowing quoting forms. You might have seen a sentence that has something like this. something 다는 소리, 다는 소식, 다는 얘기. What it is you take a quoting form. Now, this will end with 다 or 나, etc. And then you will attach 는, thereby making it into an adjective. What needs to come after an adjective? You can't just end the sentence in Korean with an actual adjective. It has to be followed by a noun. So that can be 것, which is a noun, or you can use any other variety of nouns that you want. This form is actually a shortened version of a longer form. 타고 말하는. Now this 타 can change depending on which quoting form you're using. This is a quoting form. Take this sentence. 저는 맛있다고 했어요. I said it is delicious. I said it tastes good. Well, this is actually 맛있다고 말했어요. Typically people don't say 말 though. So what would 맛있다고 말하는 사과, apple? What would that mean? So the apple that they say 맛있다 is delicious. That's what this form literally means. You can think of this as the noun that is said or heard that, and then whatever the quote that comes before it is. So the apple that is said that, or I heard that, is delicious. Literally. But I put parentheses here. You can kind of remove or change the parentheses. You can just say the apple that is delicious. That. Although the literal meaning is that is said that, or that is heard, you can just kind of think of it as translating naturally as just the word that. There are a few other ways we'll also translate this form, but this is one way. Whenever it sounds like it fits to mean someone something says, that will be a good translation for it. There's another common way that you will see this form written, and I'm just going to give you that really quick. So let me give you an example. 철수가 안 갈 거라는 얘기를 못 믿어요. I cannot believe, 못 믿어요. 철수가, I can't believe 철수 안 갈, so will not go. 안 갈 것. So now we have the future tense here, will not go. 라는. So this is a quoting form, remember, 라고 하는, 라는. Saying something, saying that he, 철수, will not go. 얘기 or yagi is a conversation, but it can also translate as like a story. So the story that 철수 tells that he won't go, the story that he is saying, I will not go. Quote, 안 갈 거라고 하는, if you make it longer again, 안 갈 거라는 얘기 못 믿어요. So I can't believe the story that 철수's not going to go. But you don't need to translate it as the story that. You can just say, I can't believe that. This is more of an abstract concept, and therefore translating it requires thinking a little bit out of the box. So I can't believe 철수 said he's not going. Or even just, I can't believe that 철수's not going. You're saying you don't believe the story that he's telling, that conversation he's giving where he's saying, I'm not going to go. You're saying, I can't believe that story. You're not so much saying you can't believe whether or not he said that. He actually did, but you can't believe it. 그 영화가, so that movie, 재밌다는 소식을 들었어요. So I heard, 들었어요. What did I hear? I heard the 소식 is the news, gossip news. That 그 영화가 재밌다. That movie is entertaining. 그 영화가 재밌다고 하는, that people are saying 소식. So I heard the news. That movie is fun. So I heard that movie's fun. Literally, I heard the news saying that that movie is fun. 그 영화가 재밌다는 소식을 들었어요. You'll often hear these sorts of words used together with this form. yagi, more commonly said as 얘기. 소식, news. 소문, a rumor. 말, words, someone saying something. 사실, a fact. You'll also hear this with things like 소리, a sound, or someone talking. You'll see this a lot with words that convey quoting something. Let's take a look at how this form is different than the first form. 비싼 모자를 샀어요. Or 비싸다는 모자를 샀어요. Both of these are perfectly fine, but they have completely different nuances. Can you guys tell me what are...
Tell me the difference between these two sounds.
비싼 모자를 샀어요. I bought a hat, literally, that is expensive. I bought an expensive hat. 비싸다는 모자를 샀어요. I bought a hat that is said to be 비싸다고 하는, that someone says is 비싸다. So I bought a expensive, at least they say, hat. Hey, I bought that hat everyone says is really expensive. So I bought a hat that I heard is expensive, or that they say is expensive. Maybe it's not good. Maybe I'm just saying, it was the so-called expensive hat. Or you can change it. 좋다는 모자를 샀어요. I bought that hat that everyone said is 좋다, good. I bought that really good hat. Versus saying 좋은 모자를 샀어요. I bought a good hat. 좋다는 모자를 샀어요. So I bought a hat that people are saying is really good. They're both correct, but their meanings are completely different. Why did I make like an angry face when I was explaining to you? Their meanings are totally different. Here are my personal 4 favorite ways of translating this form. I would recommend just writing these down. This is often the form that you're going to be using whenever you're trying to define any sort of abstract concept, or also when you're going to ask about. For an example, what if you wanted to ask someone, what is friendship? These are abstract concepts, right? 사랑이라는 것은, 사랑이라고 하는 것은, literally the thing that is said to be love. So what is this thing called love? 사랑이라는 것은 any sort of concept that you can do these little fingers around to make quotes. That's something that you're going to need this form to define. Remember, we're talking about an abstract concept. You're not just saying 사랑은, love is doing this. Well, okay, you can say that, but now you're not talking about an abstract like this thing called love, which I cannot define. But it's just, oh yeah, love. Yeah, love is that. We want to talk about the abstract concept of whatever we're talking about. Another example. So if you were to say 김치를 몰라요? That's like saying, hey, don't you know kimchi? But if you were to say 김치라는 단어를 몰라요? You don't know the word kimchi? Literally, you don't know kimchi? Not just what it is, but even the word itself, the concept of kimchi. 단어 meaning vocabulary word. So you don't know the vocabulary word? That is called kimchi. For example, going back to what we had, 철수가 안 갈 거라는 얘기를 못 믿어요. So I cannot believe the story that Charsu says he's not going to go. Well, how could you translate that in English? You can say, I can't believe that Charsu's not going, but you could also translate it like this. I can't believe the fact that Charsu's not going. Now, what does this mean? The fact that. It doesn't have too much meaning. It's kind of a bit of an abstract word that just implies that something is true. And why is it true? Well, because Charsu says it. So I can't believe the fact that, I can't believe Charsu said that. So you can say, I can't believe that Charsu's not going, or I can't believe the fact that Charsu's not going. You can feel free to translate it this way as well. Let's do some more examples though. 한국어를 배우는 것이 정말 대단한 일이에요. 한국어를 배우는 것, literally just the regular nominalization form. Learning Korean. So learning Korean, 정말 대단한 일이에요, is really incredible. Literally an incredible thing, 일, an incredible work, an incredible task. Learning Korean is really incredible. 한국어를 배우는 것이 정말 대단한 일이에요. What if we were to change this? 한국어를 배운다는 것이 정말 대단한 일이에요. So the act of learning Korean, the idea of learning Korean, just learning Korean in general, 정말 대단한 일이에요. 한국어를 배운다는 것이 정말 대단한 일이에요. The act of learning Korean, the idea, the concept of learning Korean is truly incredible. Learning Korean, whatever you're using before it, you kind of do this with it. You kind of make it into a concept or a quote, an idea. That's the kind of feeling that that's the kind of feeling that this form gives. So you're not just saying the word itself, but you're talking about the idea, the concept of, the act of, the fact of that word that you're talking about. So here it's not just learning Korean is fun. It's learning Korean. Again, the best way to learn this form is by seeing lots of examples used, not just understanding the grammar behind it. Let's do another one. 산다는 것은 모험의 연속이에요. So a continuing adventure. 살다, to live, becomes 산다는 것은. So the act of living, the idea, the concept of living, or living. Living is a continuous adventure. 산다는 것은 모험의 연속이에요. Let's do another comparison. 먹는 것은 행복이에요. 먹는다는 것은 행복이에요. 먹는 것은 행복이에요. This could mean eating is happiness. It also could mean the thing that I'm eating is happiness. It could be a bit vague, but it could also mean eating is happiness, but not in quotes. Not eating, the idea of eating, just eating is happiness. 먹는다는 것은 행복이에요. The fact that I'm eating, the act of eating itself, eating, the idea, the concept of just eating in general is happiness. Eating is happiness. That's what we get for the second one. And this one's just eating, to eat is happiness. And this is also commonly used with these verbs. 알다 and 모르다, to know and to not know. This is the form that you will always want to use when you want to say, I know that, or I don't know that. I know or I don't know the fact that. So let me give you an example. 나는 철수가 영희를 좋아한다. 철수 likes 영희. 나는 철수가 영희를 좋아한다는 걸 나는 I 알아. No. 철수가 영희를 좋아한다. 철수 likes 영희. 다는 걸. So 다고 하는 걸. Literally that someone says that 철수 likes 영희, but you can also think of it as like the fact that. Or I know 철수 likes 영희, if you want to think of it like that. I know the idea that. I know the fact that 철수 likes 영희. 나는 철수가 영희를 좋아한다는 걸 알아. 나는 철수가 영희를 좋아하는 걸 알아. This sentence is also grammatically okay, but the translation and the feeling of this sentence will be different. I know 철수 likes 영희. That's all it means. It doesn't mean I know that 철수 likes 영희. I'm aware of the fact that, 철수 likes 영희 and everything about that. No, this is just I know 철수 likes 영희. You say, 나는 철수가 영희를 좋아하는 걸 알아. I know 철수 likes 영희. That's it. The end. 나는 철수가 영희를 좋아한다는 걸 알아. I know that 철수 likes 영희. I know that idea. I know that fact. I know that concept. I know about 철수 liking 영희. It implies more of the idea, the whole concept of the thing. This does not necessarily need to translate so differently. It's more of a feeling that now you've elevated this to a concept, an idea. Memi. Memi are cicadas. Or cicada. Those little things that go at nighttime in the summer. 매미가 우는 소리. So literally the sound of 매미 chirping가 들려오다 is just to hear. So I heard the sound of 매미 chirping. So I heard the sound of cicadas chirping. We can do this. 매미가 운다는 소식이 들려왔어요. I heard the news that the cicada chirps. 매미가 운다고 하는 소식. So the news that people are saying that the cicadas chirp. So I heard the news that the cicadas are chirping. However, you cannot say this. 매미가 운다는 소리가 들려왔어요. Cicada. I'm just going to say cicada and then make everyone angry. Cicada. The cicadas with the crickets and the grasshoppers. 매미가 운다는 소리. So not that 운다는 소리 by itself is going to be wrong, but if we think of it as sound, 소리, the sound that the crickets are saying that they're chirping. So I heard the sound that people are saying that the crickets are chirping. If you're talking about this as meaning sound, it doesn't make any sense. If you're talking about 소리 though as meaning like a rumor, or something that people are saying, then you could say this sentence perfectly fine. 소리 can also be used to mean 목소리, as in a voice or a thing that someone is saying. So let's do one more quick form. So it starts off the exact same way as before and also ends with 것이, or 것이 can also become 게. This actually can also be used as a different form. This form also must only be conjugated in the present tense. So if you have 하다, it's only going to become 한다는 것이 or 한다는 게. Also, this form is used to mean but whenever the result that happens after the form is not due to what comes before the form. So let me give you an example of what that means. A with the form followed by B. That means that B, whatever happened, this result is not due to A happening. So you can think of this as something like, well, I was going to do A, but then B happened. And that wasn't because of A. Of course, this is only used with action verbs. So I was going to or intending to do A, but did B instead. Whatever subject you use with this, it has to be the same person doing both of those. It cannot be, I was going to do A, but then 철수 ended up doing B instead, so I couldn't do A. You can't say something like this. 딱 한 편만 더 보고 잔다는 게 최종회까지 다 보고 말았어요. So 딱 just 한 편, an episode. So I was just going to watch one more episode, just one more episode. 보고 and then 자다, and then go to sleep. 잔다는 게 최종회 is the final episode. 까지, until the final episode, 다 보고 말았어요. I ended up watching all of it until the final episode. 딱 한 편만 더 보고 잔다는 게 최종회까지 다 보고 말았어요. So I was only intending to watch just one more episode, but I ended up watching all of it till the end. There's an easier way that you can think of this form though. So you can think of this form instead as just 요거 했는데 B. So I was trying to do A, but I instead did B. Let me give you one more example though. 맛만 본다는 게 저도 모르게 다 먹어버렸어요. So I was just intending to taste it, but I ended up eating all of it. Somehow. 맛만 본다는 게 저도 모르게 다 먹어버렸어요. So I was only going to try it, but I somehow unconsciously finished eating all of it. 맛만 본다는 게 저도 모르게 다 먹어버렸어요. All right, that is our lesson for today. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.